And I guess the only way we can try to do is get more and more people to hear this stuff until they finally do realize the root problem is the way our monetary system works. Hemphill made it the clearest of anybody. It's the most important thing, an important subject that intelligent people can think about. And they better start thinking about it, and they better start doing something about it, instead of just sitting around doing nothing and thinking, well, tomorrow somebody else will have the answer. And that's the way I look at this. You know, a long time ago when I started to get into this, I said to myself, well, if you can't say and show there's a better way to do it, what right do you have to complain? And really what happened is, when they changed our money from gold and silver to banknotes, they actually changed our money from evidence of wealth to evidence of debt. Now, you don't have to use gold and silver to have money representing wealth, but that's the two principles. Money can either represent wealth or it can represent debt. Money is nothing but a medium exchange. It's just something that you use to make barter simpler. That's all it is. John Maynard Keynes said the surest and subtlest way to destroy the basis of any society is to balk its currency. It engages all the hidden forces of economic law in decided destruction, and it does in a manner that not one man in a billion will ever diagnose. And what that means is, and the only way you can debauch currency is change it from evidence of wealth to evidence of indebtedness. And that's what they did to our currency, and of course you can clearly see that's exactly what it's doing. It's just destroying this nation. I mean, everything is just going to rack and ruin. Yet the people have been as productive as any people in any time in the world, history of the world, that we've been as productive. Now this bill here is a silver certificate. And it says right on the face that this certifies there is a deposit in the Treasury of the United States, $1 payable in silver on demand. Now, of course, what it meant was they went under the 1792 Coinage Act, and in other words, there had to be 371 1/4 grains of silver deposited in the Treasury for them to issue this certificate. So what they did is when any gold or silver came in from another country, and there was a lot of it in bullion and there was a lot of it in coins, different kinds of coins. So what they did is they took them to the mint, and then they weighed them and assayed, and then they paid you. They gave you a $1 certificate if it was 371 1/4 grains. You know, they give you one if it was more. So then's how the silver certificate converts to circulation. And then we have a gold certificate, which is basically the exact same thing, only they put a gold seal on it, gold colors. But it's the same thing. It says this certifies there has been deposited in the Treasury of the United States $10 in gold coin payable to bearer on demand. Now this is national currency. Abraham Lincoln in 1863 established the national banking system. And so that's why this has a national currency on it. And there is one thing that was very good about this kind of currency, is because they did a study in the early 1800s, and they determined that we had the most uniform currency or money system of any country in the world had ever had, because all your bills were uniform. Now, when Jackson shut down the second central bank, then they took out all the uniform currency that flowed from the central bank, and all went to state bank currency. And then all your currency was issued by individual state banks. Well, then they all had different colors, different weights, different sizes, different shapes, and so it was very confusing. It was just like trying to buy a used car. What's a used car worth? And they actually developed what they called the Blue Book, which was just like a used car book, that actually listed all the currencies they knew about and assigned a value to them. So when the merchant come in, and you come in maybe with a state bank note from some other state or some other place, and I come in with a different one, well, they'd look through their book and see how much good they should give you for each one. Just like you go to the used car book, to see what the value of used car should be, high mileage or low mileage or whatever. And then, as you saw originally, all these bills, this one here was issued by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and it said the Federal Reserve Bank of New York will pay to the bearer on demand. Now see, this was nothing but a promise to pay. They wasn't giving you the silver, the gold, and nothing else. They was promising to pay you, but these would never back by more than 25% gold. I mean, they never had the full amount. They never could have actually give you the the actual dollars. And of course, remember, the dollar here was called the 17. Was by law was 370 1/4 grains of silver or 24 point something, I think, grains of gold. I can look that up. I don't have that on top of my head. And so that's what the dollar was. But nobody ever traded with them. They didn't loan them. They didn't even have them to loan. They just loaned you the promise to pay. Well, then as time went on, we'll see again, here's the national currency note. Now this tells it just like it is. It's secured by United States certificate of indebtedness or United States 1-year gold notes deposited in the Treasury of the United States of America. And it says on its face, the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, Minnesota will pay to the bearer on demand $1. We begin to really see some changes in the bills here, because now all of a sudden you notice, now this one says Federal Reserve note. Now these were issued and came into circulation after 1913 when they established the Federal Reserve banking system. And now the notes have changed. They no longer says the issuing bank will pay. It says United States of America will pay to the bearer on demand $10. So what we have now is a promise to pay by the United States that actually the bank issued, but the United States agreed to pay it, make it good, not the bank. And we know which bank this was because it says Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, Minnesota, right on the bill. And then we had the next change in the bill, and it's still a Federal Reserve note. Dell says the United States of America will pay demand on the demand $10, and it says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, and redeemable in lawful money. But they won't tell you what lawful money is anymore. At the United States Treasury or any Federal Reserve Bank. And now we go on down, and each one of these are $10 bills. This Dell says Federal Reserve note, United States of America will pay to the bearer on demand $10. This note is legal tender for all debt, public and private. Redeemable in lawful money at the United States Treasury or at any Federal Reserve Bank. Now that says exactly the same thing, except it's 3 lines instead of 4 and a lot smaller print. Now you go down, and in 1963, Kennedy started issuing these. President Kennedy, it says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Still says Federal Reserve note, United States of America, but no promise to pay. They now say that this is not a promise to pay, it's just the $10. So from here, it used to be a promise to pay. Now it's not even a legal promise to pay. It's not even a legal negotiable instrument, because a negotiable instrument by law has to have a promise to pay written on its face. Otherwise, it's not a negotiable instrument. But yet, these are negotiable instruments because we can use them to trade anything with, can't we? Mm-hmm. You can do anything with them. And that's how they changed their money from wealth to debt. And then you hear so many people talk about these are the United States notes that Lincoln issued also in 1863. Well, now, I don't understand. If you could issue a United States note that said would pay to the bearer on demand, now this says $2, why would you go borrow the money from the bank and let them issue the money at interest and still be the one that promised to pay it? It doesn't make sense. And these went into circulation a little bit different because, see, the United States does have the power to tax. I mean, it was given in the Constitution, and that's the first thing Hamilton did was set up taxes. But when they got ready to fight the war, they didn't have the money. So in order to get the money, they printed up these notes and then went out and said, okay, I need this wagon, I need this, whatever, to prosecute the war, pay for soldiers, whatever, and they issued them and said, okay, now you can take these and we'll make them legal tender. And at first they was a full legal tender. In other words, they would pay for anything you wanted. I mean, they'd pay interest on the debt, they would buy any, legal tender any place. And then when they come back to pay the taxes, you could use them to pay the taxes. And then if they paid the taxes, they went out of circulation. The tax was considered paid, and the government didn't have a debt anymore, did it? And that would have worked. It's not the best money system, because even under this system, somebody still has to be in debt to have any money. With gold and silver, nobody had to be in debt to have any money. Now that's the difference between wealth money and debt money. But let's go on. Now these are United Federal Reserve notes, $2 bills. And now this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, just like United States notes. And now it says United States of America, $2. There's no promise to pay there, like there was here. And this is the Federal Reserve note. But the United States is still going to make it pay, but now you had to borrow this at interest to get this. Now here's the